Samurai Jack, Kids Next Door, Danny Phantom, Star Wars, Teen Titans, Ben 10, Young Justice, Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, Gravity Falls, Adventure Time, Gumball. Like, I could keep going. I feel like Gen Z, Gen Z cartoons, like, they were on a generational run. Like, it's not even close. All you unks and aunties out there, like Gen X and like millennials, like, we could have a conversation about like which era of cartoons was better. I still feel like it's ours, but we can actually like have a debate, have a discussion. But like these new kids out there, bro, it's insane to me. Like, kids these days don't understand what it was like to have like peak television. Like, it's insane, bro. So let's talk about the migration from cable to streaming. This is kind of interesting to me because on cable, you have a lot of like restrictions on like what you can and can't show. And like streaming got rid of that, and that's why you are able to see, like, not in kids shows but like in like shows in general, why you were able to see like a lot more explicit stuff. Like, you like back in like TV shows, you don't really see a lot of like you don't see a lot of like swear words like being flung around. You don't see a lot of like explicit scenes or anything like that. And but you do see a lot of that in like streaming shows, and that's because there's not a lot of restriction on like streaming shows as opposed to cable. And you think the restriction on creative freedom being, removed would make the kids shows even more better, but they've only just gotten worse at this point. Like, all the kids shows that I see, like my siblings check out, it's like it's all like homogenous and like even more sanitized than it used to be. And that's so weird, because I feel like for a kids show to be successful, well, this is like, there's a lot of different ways that a kid show can be successful, but for me, what makes a kid show like successful and like impactful to me is, obviously, you need a good story that caters to the kids, but you also need a layer of storytelling that is a bit more mature and goes over the kid's head. And the reason for that is, you can come back like with nostalgia and watch the show and get a completely different meaning than what you got when you were a kid. And that appreciation, I feel like that is what makes a kid show like good. And this applies to like even kids movies, right? And like how having that extra layer of like maturity that the kids can't see but the adults can see, like, that makes a kid show more entertaining for like, the parents watching it with them and stuff like that. But like, I'm mainly talking about for like the kids themselves, like when they grow up, like when you grow up and come back and watch it and you catch all these like underlying like themes and like all this stuff, it just makes you like appreciate it more, right? I've seen a lot of people like recently, I've seen like a lot of people have started talking about like Adventure Time again and regular show. And I feel like the reason for that is like, okay, those two shows I don't really watch, but I can respect the impact that they had. I never really like got into them a lot, but I've started to see like a lot of people start talking about it again, and I'm like, well, that's because like the people that watched it as kids came back to watch it again and saw like there was like a whole different like layer of like storytelling and like themes and like stuff you can discover. And so there's not a lot of kids shows that do that these days. Like, it's like kids shows these days are like very like hella sanitized. And I'm not talking about like the preschool type of kid shows. I'm talking about like, like the 7 to 15 like age range, kind of like the stuff you see on like Cartoon Network, Nickelodeon, etc. Yeah, there's not a lot of shows that really do that anymore. And I feel like that's just kind of boring, And another reason, okay, I haven't really done research on this, So this might just be like anecdotal, you know, I might just be talking about out of my ass for this one. But I feel like the push for kids toys has gone down massively from the 2000s. Yeah, I felt like it was like a really like cutthroat business back in the day, because back in the day, if you made a kids show, if it got greenlit, you had to make sure that you were selling toys. If you weren't moving enough units, you get axed, bro. And it's like what they did to Generator X, bro, that was a crime. And it was just because, you know, they weren't selling enough units. And so they just axed that show completely. And I believe like there was a bunch of other shows. I can't remember. Oh, Symbionic Titan. I remember that show got axed too. Yeah, it was like a cutthroat like business back in the day. And like for the shows that were successful, you know they were successful, because like when you went to school, like the kid that had the Omnitrix, that pulled up with the Omnitrix, the kid that pulled up with, you know, like the Gravity Falls like journal, the kid that pulled up with like the action figures for like Teen Titans, Spider-Man, all that stuff, like that's how you know like these shows like had influence. And I don't really see that these days. Like I don't see anybody with like repping, like I don't see anybody repping like Glitch Techs and like whatever. I can't even name like these modern shows, bro. I can't lie, bro. But like I don't see any kids like repping like these modern shows. And it's crazy because another thing, I talked to a friend about this yesterday. I talked to a friend about this topic like yesterday. And he gave me a really good perspective. And that's the rise of YouTube and like the internet. And with the rise of YouTube, like we grew up in a time where the internet was just developing. And so we were able to experience what it was like without YouTube. And I feel like that kind of contributed to the impact that shows are having on kids. And so us growing up in a world where YouTube wasn't invented and then was still like in its early stages as well, like we were still like on the television like all day. And so I feel like that is also a reason why these shows had a lot of more impact on us than what we're seeing like today with kids today. And like the kids, and like you can tell like at a certain point you stop watching shows, like even us, like at a certain point like we stopped watching shows and then moved on to like the internet stuff like YouTube and all that stuff. Like we stopped watching television, not shows, obviously we watch shows, but like we stopped watching television and moved on to like YouTube or like the internet and all that stuff. But kids these days literally grew up on YouTube. And so they never really formed that attachment with like TV shows and like television. I mean, for all they know, a television is basically a device that connects to YouTube. You feel what I'm saying? And us growing up on the television also ties back into toy sales, because you know there wasn't a time. It was kind of like you come home from school and then you watch TV, or you know like there's Saturday morning cartoons. And so there were like set times where where advertisers would have unfettered access to like a massive audience. And so I feel like the advertising also played a role in us like in like toy sales, obviously in toy sales, and like us like purchasing like a lot of like the toy products back in the day. And that's because like there were set times where like it was like the best time to like advertise. And like with streaming and like all this stuff, like, you know, people can watch it in the morning, late at night, whatever. And so there isn't really like a set time where it's like prime time to like advertise. And I feel like that also plays like that also plays a role. Like people in the anime space, like they talk about like, oh, big three, like this is like the best era of like anime and like whatnot. But like, bro, we had the big eight. Like we had like like there was like a time where you go from like Ben 10 to like Adventure Time to like Gumball to like Young Justice, all this, like, bro, it was insane back in the day. If you think about it, bro, like, bro, the impact that these shows had was like crazy. And like, I don't think we're ever gonna go back. I think like, even like when I talked about the big three, like honestly, like anime is another video, but I feel like anime is kind of facing the same issue. Not anime, but like anime manga in general is. Okay, this is like a tangent, bro. I went on like a massive tangent. Anime is another video. I'll make another video on it. But yeah, man, I don't think we're ever going back to the era where shows have that much of an impact as they did for Gen Z. Cause like even like 90s shows and like stuff like that, they're still good. They still had the impact, but I feel like just cartoons were like in their prime, like in our era. You know what I mean? I guess that's all I wanted to talk about today. I don't know how to close it. Cause there's no, yeah, I don't know how to conclude this video, bro. Yeah. Bro, I've been wearing the same hoodie for like the past 3 videos. I'm literally a cartoon character.